Okay, so this is just an old classic, which will show us how to just do some extruding and extruding stuff in groups as well, which you'll find out about. It's not exactly the most coolest phone in the world. It's a very blocky old one, but just think of it as a phone for your granddads or something that they can see better, maybe, and the bigger numbers on it. So what we're going to start off with is we'll go through the paper, the little tube that I have. So good day, everyone. I've decided to show how two special tools, extrude and inset. So we're going to use the extrude and inset and how they can be used to make this hand phone model. I won't talk about that one and that bit anymore. So under your create panel, so remember this is our create panel over here. In your front viewport, click and drag to set length and width for a box. Then drag and click again to set the height of box. Don't worry about the actual dimensions of the box at this stage. So box front view is this wireframe view here at the top here by default, depending on where you've set it. So basically click out around about the center, click out, a box. And basically it doesn't matter about the size of it. I'm just going to grab it and I'm going to do the sort of like the front of the box. Okay. I'm going to let go of my mouse. I'm going to push it backwards or forwards. It's up to you. Forwards is probably the better way to go. And we have a box. We have a box. Very good. So let's set the, we're going to first change the box to phone. Okay, so if we say phone, we won't say mobile phone because it's not quite an iPhone, but it's cool. iPhones are easy to make, by the way, but so we're going to call it phone. And so we've done that. So in the create panel, we've changed the name of the object to phone. In the create panel, while we still got the parameters there, if you clicked off them, remember you can go to your modify panel to get them back. Going to make it a lot smaller. It's going to make it sort of like a real size phone in our world here. So we're going to make the chain in the create panel, set the length to 10 and the width to 4 and the height to 1. So the length to 10, okay, the width to 4, okay, and the height, hopefully this shoots all together for this one, and the height to 1, okay. And while we're there, we're going to, in the create panel, set the length segments to 8. Length segments to 8. The width segments, so I'll bring it over here so I can see it. The width segments, the length to 10, the width to 4, and the height is still 1. Okay, so once you've done that, you'll see your phone is really small. So the best way to do that is to zoom in on him with your middle mouse button to do so. And we're also going to set it in space in the right spot in a second. So, okay. So if you go over to zoom extents or that last button over here in the right hand corner and you click that and hold it and then click that one, it should bring it all up into view, which it has, like that, yeah? So you get a nice view of all the different angles and you've got your perspective view there. While you're at it in your perspective view so you can see what's going on, click on default shading and tick edged faces if you haven't already got that on, and you'll see the edge faces. Okay, so select your move tool. So that's W on your keyboard, remember, or select and move tool, that guy there. And we're going to center this phone. Okay, we're going to center this phone to 0, 0, 0 coordinates. Okay, So 0, 0 coordinates. And remember, to do that, you'll just have to right-click the spinners in every one of these guys. And now it's way out of whack, so I'm going to go zoom extents all again, so I get it back into where I want it to be. And it's now sitting sort of halfway down because the pivot point, or where our gizmo is halfway on the phone. That's all right for now. We could lift it out from underneath that plane, but it doesn't matter where it is for now. It goes under. This won't take us very long, by the way, so that's good. Okay, so X, Y, and Z zoom coordinates are done. Okay, now it's telling us to right-click the zoom extensor here. I think we'll just ignore that one. So yes, I've made a little bit of a boo-boo there. I was reading the actual the length and the width and the height segments. We need now to get this mobile phone to have the right segment. So if I go over to my modify panel and we set, which I did do for some reason, no I didn't. So set the length segments to 8, the width segments to 3, sorry about that, and the height segments to 3. Is that right? Yes. I need to put my glasses on, I think. That's all right. So remember, I could go back to it by going back to the modify panel. All right, so we picked up on that one. The length segments are 8, the width segments are 3, and the height segments are 3, not the same as the actual size of it. So that's cool, we've done that. And so the next thing we need to do is we need to turn this into an editable poly. So before we do it, in my little notes there, I see that this is what's going on. You don't have to do this because we can still model it under. You see where our pivot point is? Just lift your phone so it's sitting on top of the grid, just for convenience. See what I'm doing? I'm just lifting it in my Y, just to sit on top of that grid there, which in your perspective view is sitting on that little bit of the grid, the mesh there, like so. Okay. And again, we can go zoom extensor if you want to make sure that it's all sitting in your model. So that's good. Okay. So now we've got this and we've put in the polys that we want, the mount that we want. We're now going to convert it to an editable poly. Now remember, there's a number of ways to do the conversion. The best one at this stage is to use your quad menu, right click it, go down to the bottom, convert to editable poly. Okay. Now, when I say there's a number of ways you can do it, you can actually do it up in here as well by right clicking inside here. And you can also put a modifier, take note of this one, called an edit poly. Not an editable poly, it's a modifier, which means you can go back into the stack and change it and stuff. So you'll see how that works in other exercises, but just letting you know, the best one for now is your quad menu and convert it to an editable poly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to, in the front view here, is we're going to create a screen. Okay, so it says here, right click object and select convert to editable poly. We've done that. In your modify panel, click the plus sign beside editable poly and select polygon to enter sub-object mode. So this is pretending that you don't even know this yet, but you already know that. So we're now in editable poly, we're going to the polygon submenu, this one, or number 4 keyboard, or up in here, polygon, okay? Whichever way you like to do it, in your stack or just under here. And we're going to create the screen. Now, when we've done our few exercises that we have, we've only done them singly, the polygons. We've only extruded the polygons singly. But in this case, we want to select a bunch of them to do the same thing, okay? And that will be the screen. Don't worry about the crossing stuff that you see. It's already set like that, so we don't have to worry about that. So what we got to do first of all is to select these guys. Now, if I go into my selection, I'm just having, I've done this before. Optional culling. Okay, so it's changed in your little chute. It says click ignore back-facing checkbox. Yeah. So now what I've found, it's called optional culling. Now back-facing means if I select something in the front here, that it's not going, if I select a poly, it's not going to select all the polys right through because I don't want to select the back ones. I'm only looking at the face of this guy. So if you tick that little box, click this little button called optional culling back face, click that guy, and it should be okay for us to then select the polys. So I'm going to actually also use the select object tool up here instead of using the select and move tool so I don't mess anything up. And I'm going to use the rectangular selection tool, and what I want to do is select the top 4x3 polygons of the object. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 by 3. So if you guys can see up on the screen, I'm going to come over here. I'll put back face on. I think that's the right button to use these days. We'll see in a second. And I'm just going to draw a selection box over the 4 by 3, the 12 polygons in the front of me. Now, that works okay. If I did it on a bit of an angle, you might still pick up the back ones, but I'm going to check just to make sure it goes red what you've selected, that I haven't selected anything through there, and I haven't. You see, there's nothing been accidentally selected. If I hadn't ticked this guy here, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm about to do. All right, so we had a few little issues with a couple little snags, but we're all good. So depending on which view you've made it in, it doesn't really matter as long as you're getting a front view of it. So even if it's in the top view that you created in, we're looking down at the front of it, that's fine. So after you've done that, after you've done those 12 polygons, in your top view, press Alt and click and drag selection marquee to touch polygon. That's not right. We're already there. Okay. In the top view, press Alt and click and drag selection marquee to touch the polygons on the left and right side of the deselect. So that's just in case you've over selected stuff, but we already jumped to that, so that's cool. So once we've got this, we're going to make the screen. So let me just show you what we've got to do. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to put what we call an insert, right, around these polys, right? So to do this as a group, we have to do it like this, right? So we're going to do inset, all right? And that makes sort of new polys around it like a little window. But I just want you to grab the caddy, the settings button, the side inset, all right? Now you can see already that we have a couple of different versions. You see in your caddy that's floating, if you can see it says inset group. It did it automatically as a group, but you can do it. If you look in there, it says by group. If you click on that middle button there, it says by group or by polygon. If it was by polygon, we would have separate little buttons, but we're doing it by group. And for some reason, Max knew what to do there. But we're only going to inset a certain amount. we're going to put in 0.2. So down here, instead of 1, in that third column down here, we're going to put 0.2 or 0.2. Okay, and then we're going to click the tick mark. So you see what's happened? We've made a little border around the screen here. We've created more polys around the edge where they inserted, and that's cool. So you grab your little tool beside it, your little caddy. Okay. So we had 0.2 and then we clicked OK, or we did the tick button on the caddy. Okay. Now we're going to extrude it in. So it's going to have like a rim around the screen, and we're going to grab those polys, those 9 polys, and we're going to extrude them in a little bit so it has a little bit of a lip. Yeah. And we're going to go to the extrude this time, the extrude settings button with the caddy, and you see straight away it's extruded them all together. It automatically knew it was a group, which must be a new feature, but it also extruded them. Last time I used the extrude button, it was by 10, but this time we need to put in a minus figure, and it's going to be minus 0.1. So minus 0.1, and then tick it off to see what happens, right? Then it's done that bit. So have a look at your little guy, see what's going on. All right, so he's not too, we've got a little bit of a window and it goes in. See, I'm just looking at it. So we've got our screen basically for this blocky mobile phone. The idea is that you just learn how to do the polys, right? So now in your front view, or if some of you created in your top view is fine, yeah? But in your front view, if you created it in the front view, that's where I created it, that's why it's sitting there like that. In your front, click and drag a marquee to touch the bottom 4x3. So the rest of these guys down here, the 4x3, again, we're going to select all those with your marquee tool, like so, and select those guys. All right. So in your top view, point Alt and click and drag to select. Right click selected polygons, then select Inset dialog box. Right click the selected polygon. But what it's showing you too with this one is that it is that if I go into the quad menu, that's all this is showing us, right? If I go in the quad menu, I now can use these ones in here too. See, I've got vertices and edges, I've got outline, I've got inset, I've got all these guys, and I've got the little boxes over here too. So this quad menu comes handy if you don't want to go all the way over here again. You can do it from here if you want. We're not going to. We're just going to do what it says from this to keep it nice and simple. But you can use the tools from here as well as up in here. But we'll just keep with this one. So we're going to, that's what the right clicking was about for this one. But this time we're going to go to the inset type by polygon. So where it says inset, click the little button beside it. Okay, the little settings thing comes up again. And you see what it's done? It's still set the way it was before. It's insetted them by the group. So in that first one up here, see this guy here on your caddy. This one here on your caddy, just here, change that by clicking on it by polygon, and you'll see that it's already changed the buttons. Every one of them become like a little window. And we're going to tell it to to enter the insert amount of 0.2. So what have I got in there? My settings, I've got 0.2. It's already set the way I want to. Even 0.2 is a bit funky, but it doesn't matter. Just tick the tick box and we're happy. So you can right click any of the selected polygons, then select extrude. Okay. So that's what they're doing. They're saying use this one here. So I'll do it, right? I'm going to right click the quad menu, and this time I'm going to use extrude. But I'm going to hit the caddy box over to the side of it, just to show you that you can use that one. Okay, now we're going to extrude these buttons out a little bit. So we're going to extrude them by polygon. So it's already set for polygon, which is great. And we're going to extrude them of a height 0.1. So no minus in this one. It's actually 0.1 or 0.1, and we're going to hit the tick box. Okay, so what that means is that those little buttons now are sticking out of the phone just a little bit. Let's have a quick look. I'm going to go into editable poly. You know that's the end of the tube, by the way. But that's okay, because you've learned how to do this stuff. If you have a look here, you have a look at your model, you'll see that your buttons have, they're not too bad. You've got your screen, that's not too bad. We could make the edges rounded if we wanted to. We could even put a smooth on top of it to see what it looks like. Let's do that anyway, just for the hell of it. I'm going to go to the modifier list, and I'm going to put a turbo smooth on and just see what it looks like. So now it's become a fancier looking phone with a turbo smooth on it, hasn't it? It's rounded the edges off for me. Even the buttons are slightly round. It's a weird phone, but it is a phone, yeah? So you can see that you can improve the look of it by using Mesh Smooth, just changes it straight away. While you're there, the Mesh Smooth doesn't look too bad. Get it on an angle in your perspective view. Blow it up a little bit, and let's do a quick JPEG of it. And just see what it looks like. Mine looks more like a remote control, but that's cool. I don't mind a little bit of roundness in my thing. Doesn't look too bad. I'm going to put another color on it, representative color. What color do you think? Pink's not the right color for me, so I might go for a grey-ish. A grey color, maybe. And then I'm going to do a quick render of it again to see what it looks like. And there it is. You see what the smooth can do for it? It's not exactly got my buttons right, because my buttons are kind of like circles, hexagons, or whatever you like to call it. But it did smooth it off a little bit. Okay, so in your modified panel, click on editable. You know what that does? It brings you back to not going into that. Do you modify this? Click on that. Click on what is the here. Cool, isn't it? So put it on a nice angle, change the colour a bit, and take a photo of it, an image of it. We're rendering out an image. That looks good. Doesn't look like remote control or anything these days. Yeah. So yeah, Mesh Smooth is so flip speed. And that just smooths it off a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, he's doing the right way. Oh, it's done by Polly there. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's good. So that's a very simple object, and it shows you how you can make things just from simple boxes and a couple of bits and pieces. The colour buttons look all right. It's not bad style. I remember the render. So remember the render. Remember up here with the tip one and the button stuff. That. Get that going. And then you can save it there. Okay. So I want you to save your images work as you do as well, because it's all can go into your portfolio evidence. So it's all good. So that's a really simple one for this afternoon. The next one we're going to do is a bit more complicated, and it's a bit bigger. And we haven't got into materials yet, but once we get our next model done, we can start to put real materials on it.
How come this isn't saving on it?
You have to tell it. You have to say where you want to go, the name of it's cool, but you also have to show what's going on. Okay, take this to this one. That's it. And then just ignore that. Just go, okay. And now let's save that wherever you put it. Yeah. Okay. Should be, yeah, there it is. So now I also want you to save the .max file as well. Okay, just to get used to it. You go up to File, Save As. Now when you're building a big model, if we're building something that's a bit more complicated, you do a whole heap of saves, yeah? But when you save your .max file right now, you see there's a little plus sign near your save button. And what you do is that while you're working on it, like now, so if you went to save as again, right, you would save it, right? You hit that little plus sign there, you can save as you're working. And it saves you rewriting and hit plus. And you can save, you know, millions of times on a model that you might be working on that you want to go back to again. Sorry, the model that you want to go back to again, you can always go back to where you saved it. Yeah? Because that's what happens. It gets lost or something happens. The best way is to jump back to your last save. And hopefully you save it enough that it's not too far away. Yeah. Do you get it? That's how you save your models. Well, that's cool. That's good. And now I want to do another one with you that I do want to print them out so you have the copies of them. So just bear with me for a while because we're now we're getting there pretty fast. So we'll get this last one started and we won't finish it. So I'm going to do the same. There's my model. That's cool. Remember that you can come back to these things. So see the turbo smooth? All right. If I went back into back down my stack, this is another little lesson. I've got my finished model here, but I want to go back down here and I want to see and change something. So if I went down into, say, polygon right down here, it's gone back to that old shape. It doesn't show me the turbo smooth, right? So this is where this business here comes into account. Show end result, the little test tube. So now because I've gone back down, if I hit that little test tube, I can now still work on the polygons, but it's also showing the turbo smooth in down here. You get me? So in the stages, I can go and let it see the end stage. So I can then start to move things around and change things, and it lets me see what the end result will look like. So for instance, I may not want to smooth out all those buttons. I might want them to be square, and I can start to work on that, back on that again. I can also tell that to be turbo smooth on a certain area. It doesn't have to go on the whole phone. It could be just on a particular part of the phone in your turbo smooth. You've also got an eye. Of course, I've stopped recording, but that's all right. We've got an eye that you can turn off and on here. So you can turn your smooth, what it looked like before, and you can turn it back on again like that. Okay, so save your file, save it as phone, as a .max file, as well as your image. And we're doing okay. All right.